My name is Jody Enos-Burlog. I am by training a microbiologist. I've been at Luther College for just over 25 years now. So I got started in water quality research, growing out of my interest in natural environments and the connection with agriculture. And that is actually what eventually led to an interest in soil.
My name is Molly McNichol. I am a professor in the biology department. I also am Luther's natural areas land manager. Luther has about 700 acres of natural areas, and I am essentially sort of the conservation manager for all that land. This is my 16th year at Luther, and so I have spent half of my time teaching and half of my time on the land.
My name is Laura Peterson. I'm a professor of environmental studies here at Luther, and I've been here since 2008. I was a geology major as an undergraduate student, and then went on to get my PhD in geosciences, specifically studying climate change and mostly past climate variations using ocean sediments. And so I continued that work for a while in landlocked Iowa, but eventually kind of took that background in climate change and started to think a little bit more about soils and so the ability of soils to sequester carbon. And so that's kind of how I got into soils.
Taking a spade here of land that has not been tilled. We're in a woodlands, and you can see that it's black and it's crumbly like chocolate cake. It smells really good. There's life in it, live roots. There's insects. Can't see it easily, but tiny little threads of fungi in there, and you definitely can't see the bacteria in there. A lot of Iowa's soil does not look like this, and especially if it's been regularly farmed.
A lot of research would say that tilling the soil is probably the number one worst thing that we could do for it, which is, contrary to maybe what we think about kind of turning the earth or working the earth, or that idea of, going all the way back to early agriculture, just having your hands in the soil and bare soil, and how that seems so fundamental to us. But it turns out that if you look in nature, right, nature keeps the soil covered up. And so I think tillage is certainly like the worst like direct threat. I mean, you could unwind that to then, why are we tilling, and how does that relate to other threats and challenges? But I think if we could just focus on one thing, at least initially, stopping tillage would be the first good step. Really, it's this complex food web down there, and there's a lot that only sort of recently people are understanding that microbial communities, bacteria, fungi are doing to really be that first step in decomposition and releasing nutrients back to plants. And so the more diverse those communities are, kind of like any system, that just kind of adds stability and resilience to the systems. They're able to do more functions and do them well, and also take a hit if it's drier one year or wetter one year. But you have diverse soil communities, there's going to be something in there that's going to be able to keep going under those conditions.
Diversity equals strength equals resilience, and that's why it brings strength, because if you don't have biodiversity, your population is vulnerable to a lot of whatever the issues are going to be coming at it from the environment. Diversity in the soil is actually what creates the ecosystem. So there's a whole bunch of different categories of organisms that are all doing different things, critical pieces of the soil food web cycle. And if you take any of them out, the cycle doesn't turn.
I think if we don't start taking care of our soils as we are also benefiting people. Soil is something we think of it as something that can be really durable, but in many ways it's fragile, and it's held up to a lot of its sort of the human abuses. And it's only with, I think, really thinking about the soil as wanting to continue soil health is how we actually get the most gains out of it.
A lot of people's minds aren't focused on soil. It's just kind of there, underfoot. We don't pay much attention to it. We literally call it dirt. and much of our population, and until more recently myself, did not realize how much we've lost, how fast we're losing it, and what's going to happen, what is happening as we lose the soil and the fertility into it. So it's 95% of our food production. It's the stuff that basically rules the water cycle. It absorbs water, it stores water, it purifies water, and when it's not looking like this and healthy, it's not doing that. So we pay for it with our water quality. And to me, at least in my experience and doing water quality, that poor water quality and excess water quality or flooding, those are just symptoms. And we know how to fix it. Like it's a fixable problem. And it will fix so many things if we just fix the soil.
Knowing that it might cost a little bit more to protect the land, but that we all really play that role when we demand really cheap meat, and we'll only pay so much for meat. That kind of really dictates what a farmer has to do in order to produce that, and we can flip that around as customers and consumers, and by being willing to pay for the things that are important to us.
Seeing it through the lens of your own health. We are what we eat.